You need bridges. So why aren't we using the bridges? All these blockages, 5 different kinds of blockages that we're making mistake after mistake after mistake. Let's get into the bridges. The bridges are great. In order to be a bridge, folks, you're going to have to be able to get to where they are. That means you're going to have to read this book. How many of you have read this book? Or talking to you, how many have read the Qur'an? Probably none of you. And read it so you can understand it. Why aren't we teaching this? Why aren't we expanding it? See, in the MAPI program, the Master of Arts for Apologetics and Polemics that we use, that's what we do. Because if you're going to bridge them, you're going to have to go to where they're at. You're going to have to go to this book. And you're going to have to go to Muhammad himself. You're going to have to know about Muhammad. But how many of you have actually studied his life, understand the problems with him, have seen whether he's irrelevant or not? Very few. So in order to bridge, you're going to have to be where they are. Now, we talk about this all the time. But when we talk about bridging, we're saying, oh, let's be relational. That's bridging. Let's invite them to tea. That's what they call bridging. That's not bridging, folks. Bridging means going into their culture, going into where they're at, what is the most important to them. You can get into their home. You can bridge in their home by bringing up verses in the Quran, by opening up the Quran and reading it, and having the Bible next to it, and making sure your Bible's bigger than your Quran. That's called bridging. You can do all kinds of ways to bridging. You can even use what we call the Camel Method. Look at the verses in the Quran that actually bridge to Jesus Christ. Look at chapter 19, verse 33, and say, Jesus said that he was born, that he died, and he rose again. Isn't that interesting? When they say the Bible's been corrupted, we don't want to open the Bible, then go to chapter 10, verse 94. Chapter 21, verse 7 says, "O Muslims, you have any question, come back to the people of the book, because they've been given the Torah and the Injil." That's for you. Bingo. The Quran is telling them to come to our Bible. It says in chapter 4, verse 136, "O Muslims, for we, that is God, have given you both the Old Testament, the New Testament, and your Quran," proving that the Bible, both Old and New, came from Allah. And then chapter 5, verse 46 and 47, and verse 68, which says in the Quran, "O Christians, go to your scriptures, go to your Torah, your Injil, and measure what you do by what God has given you." Folks, the Quran is so good. Bridge with it. Use it. Use these verses. Because there's not one verse in the Quran that says our Bible has been corrupted. Not one. And I've asked this for 40 years. It's not there. So use the Quran to your advantage, but learn it. You've got to learn it. Use that as a bridge.